Okay, listen up, this is how it goes down. You listen to the best geek podcast in town. Gonna spit a few bars to let everybody know that you're tuned into the Geek Yoga Podcast Show. There's Som, the man, the myth, the nerd, with his mate, their wave to take over the world. Can't forget my man RahRah, he can't do a cha-cha, but he's got all the girls ready to show off their tatas. And the man called, well, his name is Knock, who's a full-time geek from his head to his socks. These guys are crazy, people say that they're loony, just as insane as casting Batman as Clooney. So here is the show taking all the rest to task. It's now time for the Geek Yoga Podcast. Bitch.
And welcome to another episode of the Geek Yoga Podcast. I'm RahRah.
Wave.
Mr. E.
And right now, for this particular episode, I think we're going to talk about The Punisher. Right?
Dun 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 dun.
Man, this is going to be a punishing...
So Dolph Lundgren was awesome. Or was it Ray Stevenson?
Ray Stevenson. He was awesome. Ray Stevenson is by far the best Punisher we've ever had on screen. I'm being serious about that, folks, by the way.
Thomas Jane.
It's alright.
No.
I don't know the actor's name.
And you are a thespian.
I don't know.
You don't know your fellow thespies?
No.
From the island of
bad.
Thespius.
That is bad, Mr.
I
E.
am Thespicus.
That's Spartacus.
That's Spartacus.
So,
No, Thespicus.
Yeah, I know.
well, those look good. So let's do this in order. Dolph Lundgren oh, I got one. Dolph Lundgren was the Punisher. First Punisher, right?
Yeah, if you want to count it.
Yeah.
No one ever does.
Yeah, no one ever does. But
It's like counting...
the movie is called
That's
that.
like counting the 1970s Doctor Strange movie, okay?
Oh. Does IMDb count it as that?
Probably.
Okay. Then we had Thomas Jane. Right?
Yeah. She's alright.
I really hope this podcast is picking me up eating these cinnamon twists.
It was it was a good mob revenge movie. Mm-hmm. Kind of lacked balls to be a Punisher movie, but it was a good mob revenge movie. Solid acting. Mm-hmm. Fun story. John Panette's in it.
Yeah. And then we had Ray Stevenson in Warzone.
Hell yeah, with Wayne Knight, one of my favorite actors. Probably the best Punisher we've ever had on screen.
Mr. E is sort of just shrugging his shoulders. He hasn't seen any of these films.
Yeah, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah.
I'm here for the Marvel
Yeah. Which leads us to
Netflix series.
John Bernthal. The
Shane!
fourth installment of
The
Netflix.
white fucker.
Let's see, we had... Yeah, this is the fourth one, right? No,
Yeah.
this is the fifth one. Because we had...
Sixth.
Daredevil. Sixth. Yeah, okay.
Wait, are you talking pure seasons or characters?
Characters or like teams. Like Defenders is one.
Yeah, so he would be number 6.
So number 6. The sixth
Right, we're
installment.
not counting Daredevil Season 2
Yeah,
as a
that's correct.
separate... Okay,
Yeah.
so 6.
Yeah. So sixth of the Netflix Marvel universe. Series. Shows.
Series. This is what happens when Knock takes a break.
Uh-huh.
We let this one run it.
Well, yeah, well, or Assam. He's not here too.
Yeah.
But it's that's just the nature of the beast. So, well, anyway,
the man, Beast Man.
that's
Beast Man.
and now we got Masters of the Universe. Since you know the most about this series because you know the least about the other stuff, why don't you start?
This does not make any sense whatsoever.
You haven't seen any of the other movies that are up to this run.
I saw one, but I can't remember it very well.
We saw the Thomas
okay.
Jane one.
There we go.
Oh,
The
okay.
one that was in Miami.
Okay.
Yeah. So that doesn't count. If you can't remember anything, that doesn't count. So why don't you start us off, Mr. E?
Okay. I really enjoyed this series. Yeah, I just liked it. That's what I have to say about it.
Oh, okay.
No,
Like the worst interview ever.
honestly, I don't feel like I'm the one qualified to speak first because I don't know the backstory of the character so well. Like,
That makes you perfect
Well,
to start.
okay.
You
so-
are the
nothing-
layman.
You have
I'm
nothing to
the
taint
layman.
it. Like
Okay.
Agent Amy.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think this whole arc was great because it modernized the story. So it made it current with today's politics and with today's just our current scenario in America. We're in a constant war for the last how long now? 30 years?
Good Lord.
I don't know. I was going to say, when did Trump take office? January 20th?
A lot longer.
Although we're not getting political. Maybe we are.
It might. I mean, it's kind of hard not to touch on some parts of it.
Yeah.
I just think it's very current with the current atmosphere.
Right.
And for that reason alone, I really enjoyed the story, and I would rank it one of the definitely the top 3 Marvel Netflix series for writing.
Right.
There are issues with it, which will be brought up. There are some. I don't know what the right word for it is. Some like magical moments that. He's either the most fortunate man of all time, or it's just bad writing. But they also lend to some intense emotional impact moments for the audience watching. So you get a give and take, depending on who you are. One of us has a different take on that than the other 2 of us in this room.
Yeah. That is in terms of like what I've seen in terms of like online. They have said among the Netflix series anyway that it actually was surprising as much as it had to say in terms of timeliness, because it could have been like the Dolph Lundgren action film, which was basically a straight revenge flick, or even the other ones, which, let's face it, they're not saying a whole lot. But I think you're right in terms of making it current. The series is trying to say things about stuff that are on the minds of people right now.
Right, and I guess that's where I find it really fascinating, is that there's a character that is, for all intents and purposes, a alt-right character who had something horrible happen to him at some point, and I know we're not avoiding...
Yeah, we're not avoiding
spoilers, but they're okay, sorry.
Wasn't his name like Lou or something?
Lou, yes. Yeah. He's the alt-right character who...
I mean, it's been 3 weeks, so...
Yeah, who leads the group of combat veterans to believe that he himself is a combat veteran.
Oh, no, I thought Lou was the kid.
Which one is... You're
thinking the older guy, right?
I'm thinking the older guy.
There's an IMDb up there. Do that.
Anyway, this guy passes himself off as a Vietnam vet. And once the kid finds out, he gets bombed for it. But I just thought... It brought to a forefront a mindset that... It made a mindset that I have a hard time understandable. Like, it made me understand why this guy felt this way, why these people don't feel safe. And there is that constant theme throughout the show of safety versus taking action, and how a veteran comes back and how they're treated.
Yeah, certainly that, veterans and how they're treated, and actually you brought up a really good one that I didn't think of, like that whole idea of manipulating people through disinformation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's certainly in there, because you get that from the government side, where they're trying to cover up everything, and you get that from the right-winger guy's side, where he's trying to manipulate these vets in this like confidence circle into doing things that support his causes.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of neat, because that's pretty much what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
You know, with all the stuff that we've seen working in the business, you know, half-truths, getting people in trouble and everything else.
That was him, right?
Delaney Williams.
Yeah.
Delaney Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, so O'Connor was the character name, was the older guy.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
His character was interesting. I just feel like they touched on all sides of the current political environment, in good ways and bad ways.
Uh-huh.
And I just find that interesting.
Right.
And again, me coming in as a newcomer, I suppose I held off on watching this series for at least a week and a half, and then I just binge watched the thing.
Yeah.
I really expected it to be just this shoot fest,
Right.
which to some extent it is, but there's a lot of space.
To be fair, it would be easy to do it as a shoot fest.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
there are instances of it, but it's not all that this series is, which is fantastic.
right.
It's not. It is a revenge story, but it says something else.
I mean, as someone who's collected the comics through like the 90s and late 80s, there are a lot of books where it's just Frank gets an idea, to go after someone, and by the last page they're done.
Like
and that is the extent of the story.
I was like expecting Punisher kills the Marvel Universe.
Right.
All right, I'm going to kill everybody.
But the best stories, I think, in the comic book runs is when, like you said, they sort of get personalized. Like when he's up against Jigsaw, or when he's up against Saracen, or he's up against, another named villain, and you get that great dialogue back and forth that happens between, I think, him and Russo in this series, which is like brother betrayed type stuff. So,
and I guess that's part of why I personally loved it, was because I was surprised.
Uh-huh.
I was very much expecting something else, and
Right.
this is what we got.
I know from San's point of view, he's really disenfranchised with the whole like Netflix series. But when the idea rolled out that the Punisher was going to get a series, he thought it was going to be just like nothing.
Yeah. Just
sort of-
violence.
yeah, just violence essentially. Not to speak for him, but we've talked about it. I think even on the podcast about what expectations were going to be for this series. So and again, I think it would be easy to do that, but I also think that they did a good job in trying to make it a little more contemporary. So, wait.
Well, do you have any? Do you want to do? Was that your whole thing, or?
Well, I mean, I pretty much like the series too, because again, I think it says a lot more than what you'd expect, and I'm kind of just from my standpoint and the things that I like. I love a good revenge movie and revenge flick, and I would have been satisfied if that was it. Just watching him march through, and blow people away would have been great. Which is basically what Warzone and Thomas Jane and Dolph Lundgren's movies were. He gets a bigger gun through every act, or does something even more extreme through every act, and in the end, everybody's dead. But I think when you get an episodic storytelling device going, you can add more things in there to make it a little more meaty, and I think they did a good job with that too. And I also like to think that the casting again was kind of like spot on. Like I love Agent Madani.
Madani.
Yeah, Madani. She was
great.
Yeah, she was great. Really knocked it out of the park. I liked what's his name, Russo, who I think was from Westworld. If anybody has seen that,
for sure.
So and in terms of what I've read about the show and reviews of the show, he's supposed to be pretty good as an actor-wise, and I thought he was great in this.
Oh, yeah.
And I also liked, of course, John Bernthal, who I think took this take on Frank Castle and sort of made it his own. I think everybody's been their own thing in these movies and TV shows. So as someone who doesn't have this like dogmatic like loyalty to the comic canon, which I've stated 1,000 times before, I'm okay with them taking liberties with stuff as long as it makes sense within the context of the story they're saying. And I think we've had movies now where we've had the mob take out like the person's, even if it's not even just a Punisher movie, the mob or some kind of organized crime, it's ninjas or whatever, take out the person's family and that be the impetus for them to go for revenge, whether it's a Western or something like that, like Unforgiven even, where finally the thing that makes him go all outlaw Josie Wales on these guys is the fact he gets his friend killed, and he's on display outside the guy's saloon. I mean, we had that lots of times, so to have that again, I think might have been a little overdone. I think what they needed to do to sort of like make another interesting series as a follow-up to Iron Fist, and even Defenders in a little way, is to just like make it again a little bit more complex, like what they did with Jessica Jones.
Well, here's a question: what's the moment? Like, do you have a moment in this series that really stood out to you? That was like the most standout scene that just stuck in your memory? Because I have one that I've been thinking about.
All right.
It's different.
Okay.
When Russo and Madani are in bed together, actually, and she had just watched her partner die, Stein had just died, and of course he had just killed him, but he tells her, sometimes you got to blame the enemy. You can't always blame yourself. And he's actually giving her good advice to some extent. And it's, I don't know, it's like heart pumping because it's like, eventually that's going to come back to him.
Right.
But he's giving her good advice on what to do in the future, and it does. It comes around. It's great storytelling. That's I don't know why that stood out so much. It's just that the villain is not always wrong. Was great about that. And I mean, eventually he became like this straight up villain.
Yeah.
Set him up for Jigsaw, no doubts about it.
But yeah. I don't know if I have a moment like that. I mean, I honestly don't think I can pick anything out because I don't know. I guess I'm kind of when I watch stuff, I know what I'm going to watch, but when it surprises me, like this did, or like Jessica Jones did, when I finally got around to finishing it, I guess that surprise and not being able to have it figured out is the thing that makes me think I like this a lot, because it was unexpected. So that's what I like in terms of this. In terms of like just moments in the show, it's the one that I rewatched last night, I think, where you have these characters that are sort of like a little all over the place, and by the end of like the second episode and the beginning of the last episode, second to last episode, beginning of the last episode, they sort of all fall into the role. And I love a good zealot. And when everybody falls into this role that they are meant to be, I think that's where you get a lot of clarity, and then you get like these really good scenes that come out of it because everybody's, I guess, all in at that point. Yeah. Like when Russo's with Madani. I'm gonna fuck that up all night.
Magoo in there, man.
Mr. Magoo. Because when he's with her, there's like a part of you that's like, he could probably be won over, especially when he starts to tell her about his life and all this kind of thing.
That's the thing. He was a vulnerable villain,
right?
Which is awesome.
It could have been that moment where he's like gonna go either left or right, and for her, which we've seen as a trope in lots and lots of shows and movies, actually gets pulled off. The fact is, it's a Punisher thing. I didn't think about that. In that moment, I was like, okay, well, this guy's could be a good guy. And there was a moment in the beginning too, as they're starting to flesh out that he's part of Anvil, and they start filling in the gray areas. Well, I'm like, nah, he's not. Yeah. He's not going to turn. He's not going to go to the dark side.
Well, as soon as they show you that Anvil logo, you're like, okay,
right.
That's going to be a major player as like the bad guy.
Right.
It's just.
Right. Well, even then, I was holding out. I was holding out.
I was
when he
hoping
kicks that kid out, he's like, he's got a good streak in him. He knows this kid is going to be bad news, might get him and himself hurt or killed. So he goes along with Curtis, who is also like his brother in arms. And at that point, I'm like, well, he could be a good guy later on.
And
then, of course, he fucking goes in on that raid, and there's that shootout, and yeah, it's not good. Which
I know Wave has a lot to say about this. The ending, for me, I really loved, and I'm also kind of disappointed by it. Now that I think about it a little bit longer.
I ruined it for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Not I ruined it as in I spoiled it for him, but in our discussion, I pointed out some stuff and kind of ruined it then.
Okay, so at the end, Punisher and Russo are fighting. Oh boy, big shootout, cool. He has PTSD flashbacks to his family. So he's kind of in a weakened state, and Russo's just taking advantage of everything. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Madani shows up because apparently she pinged his cell phone. Do not understand this. This is what he's talking about. He says he can do that. I don't know why she showed up. I like that.
Pointing out that this didn't make sense is what ruined it for him. Because he wasn't thinking about it earlier, and then I'm like, dude, she shows up. If you don't mind, I'm gonna. She shows up, and Russo has his gun on Frank. Frank's like down on one knee. He's hurt bad, She shows up. He hears her footstep or the gun cock. I didn't really catch whatever audio cue. He spins around, shoots her in the head, and immediately turns back. And I can't remember. It was either Frank was gone or Frank had his gun back.
Frank just charges.
Oh yeah, Frank turns back and Frank tackles him. That's right. So here's the thing. There was no. First off, she served zero purpose other than be a half-second distraction. You could have gotten the same amount of plot out of that scene by having a fucking bird fly into Russo's head for a second. Anything could have happened. Yeah. You could have had a dog bark and have him momentarily go, the fuck was that? And then Frank tackles him. Because there was no payoff. he had just got done. Russo had just got done doing this whole speech about how attachments make you weak. And
so, thematically, that makes sense turning him into a villain. So that's okay with me. I understand that this bothers you, that he should have had like a moment of vulnerability. I think that would have been just as interesting.
Well, here's the thing. I think it should have gone one of two ways. I think this is where they fumbled they dropped the pass, fumbled. I'm not a sports person, okay? Where they fucked up the act here of what they were building with the whole Russo and Madani sleeping together thing, and like where he gives her the good advice and like sets all this up. Because after he shot her, there either should have been like there was no moment of recognition of who he shot. It did not seem like it mattered whatsoever that he just shot Madani. Mm-hmm. It could have been anyone. Captain fucking America could have shown up and gotten shot, and it wouldn't have made a difference to Russo. Mm-hmm. Because I think either, especially coming after this attachments make you weak thing, either he should have had a beat and had that moment of, oh shit, because this is the one person we've seen him have an attachment to, and open up about his past and all that to. Have that moment of, oh shit, I just shot Madani, or have a moment where he realizes who it is, and then like as he's turning around to Frank, be like, see, this is why you can't have attachments, or some acknowledgement of it. Mm-hmm. But like they set up this great thematic moment, and then just did literally nothing with it. Mm-hmm. And that's on top of the fact it makes zero sense she showed up anyways.
Again, agree with that.
Yeah, other than just to get the, oh my god, fake out moment.
Right, and that is kind of disappointing. Like, she shows up in the hospital later with her eyes black and blue. Like, she had
a bandage around her head.
Yeah, I mean, she did just get shot in the head.
I mean, dude, awesome. And it is possible to survive. The bullet can hit your skull and curve around the skin and all that. Was it 50 Cent was shot point blank in the head at one point in his life, lived because of the way it hit the skull.
It's just weird.
I mean, yeah, the human body is weird.
Yeah.
But no,
it is. I mean, as a viewer, I was like, oh, shit, they just shot her in the face. She's done. No more Madani. There goes my favorite character in the series. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite. And then, of course, she's alive still. I'm like, oh, okay,
so,
that's fortuitous.
I will say, overall, I was meh on the series. Like, the acting was great. The acting was great. It was well shot. Some issues with the writing, but, like, I liked Iron Fist a little better. And I liked this better. I did like this better than I liked Daredevil Season 2, although I liked Punisher in Daredevil Season 2 better than this Punisher. And I'll say part of it is the origin story. I know we're still going to talk about the end, but I'll go back to the origin, get my thoughts on that. But yeah, just so I could get that out there. All right, so RahRah earlier today was saying that he had something that would make this make sense, why she was there. He would explain to us why she was there, why this makes sense.
Well, only because you're coming at it from this angle, okay? You kind of have to go to the part where, in the very beginning, Frank's brought in to the parents' house. And they have this dialogue exchange where they're arguing back and forth. She sort of brought in this terrorist, and the dad says, sometimes the criminals or something like that are the good guys. Okay, and she's aware of this, and her mom's like, no, we can't do this, and she says, we got to do this. Okay, it comes back to that part, and then when he's walking out, they have that exchange where she says, and we all know she doesn't mean it. She says, if I see you again, I'll shoot you. I mean, it's even delivered in a way where she's like, she's just saying that because she kind of has to. Because she's an officer of the state, kind of thing.
It's the get out of here and don't expect this again.
And he actually stands there and says, "I'll see you around," because he knows.
Yeah.
Right. So where this all makes sense is when she's being interrogated by Rafi and the head of CIA.
Yeah.
Agent Orange.
Yeah.
The lady was the director of CIA.
Yeah.
And no, he was. the guy who Rafi,
Yeah.
Rafi is the head of Homeland Security, who Madani works for.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so you had the head of the CIA because the whole conspiracy dealt with the CIA.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with Rollins. And then you have Rafi, who is Madani's direct superior.
Right.
So the director of the CIA is coming to Rafi being like, dude, your agent is kind of messing with our shit. Stop this.
Right.
You know, you have that whole thing. Okay.
And they're interrogating her, and Rafi's whole point of view with that is she's a good agent, she dots the I's and crosses the T's, and she does everything kind of by the book. And she comes up with the cover story of Frank overpowers her to protect Frank, and that's how he escapes. Now, where this starts to make sense to me and how I look at it from another point of view is, at this point, Frank has confronted Russo, and they basically say they're essentially the same person. Curtis says that.
Yeah.
Except one is bad and one is good.
What was it that he said exactly? Except for Frank is loyal.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what I said about in the beginning, where people start to fall in the roles that they actually are. And it reminds me of that story of like the scorpion and the frog, where the scorpion eventually stings the frog because that's his nature.
Mm-hmm.
And she shows up because she's typing up the report for Rafi, and the last few words on the that she has going on, she doesn't complete the sentence, was Frank Castle overpowers me and attempts to, and she stops, and her hand starts to shake. And I think at that point she realizes that she can't do that thing that her dad is able to do, which is, forget, what the circumstances are and just save Frank. She was part of that, and she was actually wavering in her dialogue with her mom, saying, "No, we just got to save him because he's got to be saved," kind of thing.
So you think it's more of she was going there to arrest Frank to be like, "I gotta bring you in."
I think at that point she says, "I can't do this lie thing. So what I got to do is go at least confront Frank and at least try to do that, run him out of town, that kind of thing, because she knows he's not going to leave."
Yeah.
So I got to do the thing that I am, which is be good. So that's when the ping comes up because Russo calls him. He answers the cell phone, and that's when the ping comes through.
Why does she have that cell phone?
Because she's tracking him. She had been tracking him the whole time.
Again, it's a logic.
It's a hand wave. It's a hand wave.
Well, because there are several holes in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like one, yes, she could have gotten the cell phone while they were helping him and all that. She could have gotten the number, but at the same time, there's the flip side of he has a master fucking hacker, computer analyst, whatever in Micro, and Micro's not like messing around with.
Well, at that point,
with
he was out of the game because he was in the safe house with his family.
Right, but you're telling me Micro never messed with the GPS on Frank's phone?
Not since she brought him there to the parents' house, and he offered up the money and that kind of thing. He hadn't been near a computer up until the part where they brought him in. So he was protected.
I'll say, like, it's
a little hand wavy.
It's a little hand wavy. It makes sense in the same way that, like,
I understand the motivation for her trying to get there.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, looking at it that way, I understand the motivation, but still, in the scene itself, she serves zero purpose.
And then we get to this point. So she's there doing her thing. So she's going to be the good guy, going to try to resolve whatever situation is that's showing up, and she arrives. During the whole dialogue thing between the two of them, they talk about how this world isn't really for them, and that they're they're just like predators in this world. And this is what they're designed to do, trying to convince Frank that he doesn't want to save these kids who he's bleeding out on the hobby horses or on the merry-go-round horses, carousel horses. That he's a monster kind of like him. So he sort of slipped into this role now after he just basically headshotted all these agents and then blew up Anvil of survival mode, which he's always been good at. Even when he was getting beaten on by his family, his dad. That's what he is. That's what he does. He always survives. He chooses himself, which is why earlier in the series, it takes Frank to go over the edge and distract the insurgents. He's not going to go. Frank goes. And then Frank slips into the role of an almost good guy type persona near the end. That's what Madani's role is. It's because he can skate too.
Yeah.
You know, at that point he already cut loose. He had already cut loose the 2 kids. And she just had a headshot, so there's no way of knowing whether or not that she was going to live. He sees the police coming, so he could either do the things that he's always done, or he can sit down, and this obviously good person who had no other reason to be there other than this firefight erupted could die. So at that point he chooses that, to try to save her, to try to do something good. Which is why, in the end, he has that whole thing where he almost kind of doesn't know what it is he is yet. Because the mission's over, which is basically his thing. If there's always a mission, he says that in the monologue. There's always a mission, and that's always the thing he was good at. And that when the mission's over, he doesn't know what to do. So in that sense, we have a good person being good. That's why she shows up. Russo being bad, because that's what he does. And the gray area of Frank, who's like, he has to choose at this point. He could have let her die. And that would have been totally within the context of the show.
I still feel like this is so much squeeze for so little juice.
I think the ending was great.
Like,
I do think...
I'm still talking about the carousel.
Just the carousel?
Yeah, I'm still talking about just the scene in the carousel. I'm not going to... I'm not talking about the VA meeting or whatever. No, like... That seems like way too much squeeze for so little juice, especially when you can accomplish the exact same thing by having anything else distract him for half a second. Mm-hmm. He could even have the villain moment and look away while ranting about the world.
Right.
And you could still have the good Frank moment at the end where he sticks around even though the cops are coming to help these kids.
Yeah, but at that point they were on their own. You see what I'm saying? They weren't really injured. They were up walking around. Their
fucking wrists were slit.
Yeah, but they were fine. They could have left. They actually come over to him, sit down, and thank him, and wait for the police to come.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Easy enough. You have their injuries be more severe. And Frank, not wanting to let more kids die on this carousel where his family did, stays with them.
Right.
So much easier. So much less shit you have to put in.
But it makes more sense to have him stay for someone who's there to arrest him, to choose that good rather than I choose a stranger good.
You see, personally,
he has to choose someone else. He has
personally,
to not choose him.
I think it says way more about the character if he's staying to make sure a stranger lives than to make sure a frenemy lives. To me, it would say a lot more if he's like, I don't know you, I don't owe you anything, I just saved your life, but I'm still going to risk my freedom to make sure that you live. And hell, if anything, that sounds like a soldier to me.
That would make more sense if their injuries weren't as severe as hers. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you take her out of the scene, then all you have to do is make their injuries worse.
Right.
And it works as well, if not better, depending on your viewpoint. And
then there's another problem with another recurring theme through the series of routine, which Frank references very often.
Okay.
The idea that, again, that people do things in order to reinforce who they are.
Right, but here's the thing. Okay.
So that's why Madani
had to go on a 10-minute explanation to explain a total of maybe 30 seconds of screen time.
Right.
That's so much squeeze for so little juice.
Because it's the end of the series that leads into this really huge moment at the end where Frank's like...
It's still a discordant moment in the middle of this firefight where, turn around, pop, back to it,
Okay, so I don't have a problem with any of the character motivations at the end. I do agree that it's strange that she just shows up out of nowhere, but Russo just popping her and turning back, that makes sense to me. He is in the middle of his mission right now, and he's surviving. And
so he didn't even recognize who it was?
I wish there was a small moment of recognition, but it would have turned out the same. Right. I don't want him to go on a fucking monologue. He's not going to do that.
He already was going on a monologue.
Right.
There was an entire rant.
He was going on a monologue because he was in complete powers.
But that's what I'm saying, is you add on one sentence and he looked away, and that was just something that occurred to me as a way to do a distraction. There are 1,000,000,001 distractions that could have happened that would have felt more organic than a character showing up basically out of nowhere to catch a bullet. And, like, so the character has a second of screen time for this scene.
Yeah.
Like, there's a million and one other ways to distract a character.
I do agree there's other ways to do it, but I'm not concerned about character motivation.
Again, it comes back to her being in the hospital at the end, because she again has to choose what's the good thing to do. Is it a good thing to do to keep Frank off the street, or is it a good thing to do to reward this good choice that he made in not cutting and running and leaving her there, and actually letting her to be alive, to be with her parents and continue whatever mission she happens to
But she
be
could
on.
still come to those conclusions with him saving the kids.
Yeah, but there's more of a payoff if the person who you saved is going to return
Like,
that favor.
I'm not
I'm
not saying that that scene had no power at the end when she's in the hospital, but I feel like the road to it was not well made.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing that I'm saying.
It's very tenuous, because
that it's not as tenuous as you say.
I still say that scene is bullshit
from the beginning of the film, and the little clues that they leave along the way. Could it have done better? Certainly, it could have been done better.
Like,
but
if they had given her a reason, like a purpose in the scene.
Is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, if they had given her a purpose in the scene,
right?
She didn't have a purpose when she first showed up.
Right.
Her purpose was to catch a bullet. Literally, that's it. And that's to me, that smacks of, oh shit, we forgot to put the damsel in distress in the scene. Shit. Okay, she walks up and catches a bullet from Russo.
But I don't think at any point is she a damsel in distress in the whole series. That's the thing.
In that scene, she is. In that scene, she is.
And she is actually really.
No, she's
as driven as them.
Yes.
In that scene.
No, she is. I'm saying in that scene, though, she is a damsel in distress.
Well, contextually, she's not
in that scene, though,
with them.
I wouldn't say she's a damsel in distress. I'd say she's fucking dead.
Well, yeah, but still, but that's the point, though, is because there's the slim chance she might be alive. It's still you're still rooting for Frank to hurry this up so you can find out if, like, maybe she's bleeding out. Maybe if Frank finishes this quick enough, he'll find her.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that hope, but you see her take a bullet to the fucking face. So I'm like, okay, she's fucking dead.
Right.
And we're going to see what's going to happen next.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
So that there is that slim,
it's still a part of the of damseling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that middle ground between damseling a character and fridging a character. That's basically where she was. But I don't know. Like, okay, there's also.
Well, Curtis could also play that same role in the sniper window scene. I mean, Frank literally holds him out as bait.
Yeah.
So is he a damsel in distress?
Yes, he was damsel. He was damsel during that.
Again, I would.
Here's
Here's
the thing. You seem to have a 100% negative reaction to me saying somebody's a damsel in distress.
No,
because
I just didn't.
It is a trope.
She was.
Yeah.
Well, you thought she was dead.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
so if she was alive,
so his motivation was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna fucking kill you now. You just took out somebody I weirdly cared
Could
about."
Frank even see who it was?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. He saw her come up.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like,
that's actually why he turned around, because he saw her.
But here's the thing, okay? And because my problems are not entirely with this scene. Like, first off, oh my god, these LSD trips that Frank goes on every time he falls asleep or goes unconscious, where he envisions new ways of his family getting murdered.
You have a problem with that?
Yes, oh my fucking god.
That's fucking real.
Okay,
that's like the most real characterization.
Here's the thing. Once or twice in the series, fine. Every fucking time he falls asleep or gets knocked unconscious, I gotta sit through this. God. Now we're gonna pump the kids at Thanksgiving.
I genuinely have a serious issue with you not liking that, because that's so real. That is a real thing.
Yes.
People every time they fall asleep, they see the most horrible thing in the world.
I understand this.
So I don't understand how you
why I didn't love this.
Well, I can understand why you don't love it, but I don't know why you're taking issue with it.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, obviously I know that this happens. Like, there are people who, yes, every time they close their eyes, they see their trauma and all that. I'm not bashing them. I'm not trying to degrade them.
Sure.
I'm just saying, when you have, God, I actually want to know how many seconds of screen time they did on this. Here's the thing. It's just inflating the runtime. After a while, it doesn't feel like anything more than, okay, here's another dream sequence. Let's see how long until we get back to the plot.
Like, I agree with that point of view. That for certain things like that, it can make the actual like telling of the story sort of drag on.
Yeah.
But the only retort I have to that is that was the routine to set you up for what they're going through. Because conversely, it's Russo always talking about some chick he banged. That was his routine. And Madani's, thing with this guy that she has to find the murder of and how she's always digging around. These are the things that help you understand that these are the things that are consuming them and the things that directs their actions.
I get that.
And they're showing that visually. So I agree with you that they don't necessarily have to do that every episode.
Right.
But I do think it's an important part to laying out the themes.
And I'm agreeing that it is important to the character.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is they did it too much. Mm-hmm. And to the point where it stopped feeling like a special strategic thing of, here we go, here's an insight into Frank.
And it started to feel like routine.
Yeah, it just dragged on.
A
bad routine, though. That's the thing. And here's the difference. There is making your audience feel what your character is feeling is one thing. Making your audience go, all right, let's get on with it.
I did have one moment like that when he was getting beat on by Agent Orange, and every couple of minutes he was banging his wife. I mean, that sort of coming in through that episode multiple times, I get where he's going, and I get that at some point later on she's going to, like, come with me now, you've done enough, time to rest kind of thing.
Which that is also a very old trope.
I get that from that. So, but the earlier parts in the movie where he's having a flashback, in the series where he has those flashbacks, I'm not so bothered by because I don't think it's as frequent within that episode as it is in that one.
Well, I also felt that it was weird that not a single one of the early ones took place at the carousel. Mm-hmm. Not a one.
Yeah.
It's him waking up in his bed, his wife walks in, and she gets popped in the head. Mm-hmm. It's him at Thanksgiving, and the family all gets popped. Like, I get it's supposed to be this thing of like, look, even his best memories of his family are being tainted by this thing that happened. But if we're really talking about this is him reliving his trauma over and over, how come there wasn't like carousel music going in the background during any of these? How come none of them really dealt with the park?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an interesting point because I was waiting for that too. Knowing the origin story, I'm like, when is this going to come in at the park?
It was to the point where I had actually forgotten that in Daredevil Season 2 they established the fact they had basically established the original comic book origin.
Right. That's fair.
I had actually forgotten that because I'm like, they must have been killed in his house. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the trailers were stressing this scene of like the wife coming in and getting popped in the head and all that.
Yeah, that's fair. I had forgotten that too until they did that at the end there.
And actually, all right. So speaking of the origin,
I mean, and for in terms of that, I think also, I think that was just also one more way for Russo to needle him, because like they actually go through that whole little thing where he knows where they died and that maybe he had something to do with it. And Frank knows this because that's also a very pure and good memory he has.
Oh, what, doing the final fight at the carousel?
Yeah.
That, by the way, that was genius. I think that was perfect. That was great for how the series was set up.
Yeah.
I'm not bitching about the fact that it was my only problem with that entire fight was Madani.
Yeah, that's
like that's literally like that was a well choreographed fight that made sense.
At the end. Oh, so good.
I mean,
look at yourself.
I'm torn on the whole Russo becoming Jigsaw thing, and actually this plays into like I want to say about. So, this is an issue I have with Origins lately, because it's not just Frank. Although Frank has now had it happen twice. I am a huge, and this is a personal thing. I understand why like you guys don't have issues with this, but this is a personal thing for me. Like I fucking love the heroes and anti-heroes that could have been anyone. I love the fact that had that spider bitten anyone other than Peter Parker, they would have gotten powers and they would have been their own spider person. And I mean, and Marvel's explored that with like Spider-Gwen and the fact that Cindy Moon, Silk, the spider actually bit her after Peter before it died, stuff like that.
To throw in some DC, Thomas Wayne is also pretty badass too, because Bruce had gotten killed, not
Yeah.
Bruce. So that made for an awesome stretch of, what if storylines where his dad actually became Batman.
Yeah, this idea of like it could have been anyone. And I've seen a recent-ish, because I mean some of these examples even go as far back as 1989, and I think RahRah now knows exactly which one I'm going to bring up. Oh, maybe not.
Maybe
Okay,
not.
but like of taking these,
Yeah.
taking these could have been anyone heroes and anti-hero. I'm just going to use heroes. Yes, Punisher is not really a role model, but okay, I mean maybe he is. Who knows? Okay. But taking them and making their origins about fate, about personal, so personal about it. Whereas, and the one I'm going to bring up from 1989, and again, I love this movie. Do not take this criticism as me saying this is a bad movie. I fucking love this movie. You won't believe how many people I have had get pissed at me. Say like you level any criticism at this thing, and you're you're saying that the entire movie's bad because blah 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 blah. So,
What movie?
Batman 1989,
Okay.
Tim Burton, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, all that. The whole tying in the Joker as Joe Chill, I don't like. Additionally, sticking with Batman, and this was one thing where, although the episode was phenomenal in Batman Brave and the Bold, Chill of the Night, I believe the episode is called,
That is a good one.
where Batman goes back in time essentially and gets to watch his parents.
Phantom Stranger Sensitive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gets to watch the night before his parents died and why. Which I knew Adam West was voicing Thomas Wayne in that, but Julie Newmar voiced Martha. I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So it was Bruce and Catwoman. But anyways, fun Easter eggs, and we find out that the reason in Batman Brave and the Bold why the Waynes had been killed wasn't a random mugging. It could have been anyone. It was because Thomas Wayne had stopped the Falcones from robbing this charity event. And, just like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. If that spider had bitten anyone other than Peter Parker, that person would have died. But because Peter's father worked on the spider, and it was made specifically with Peter's DNA in mind, he became the Spider-Man. Frank Castle's an undercover cop in Miami, or for the FBI working in Miami. And because a deal goes wrong when the police show up to arrest everyone, and the son of the mobster gets killed, now the mobster's out for personal revenge against Frank Castle for doing this, and that's why he wipes out Castle's family.
Yeah.
Because Castle works for the CIA, and they think that he blew the whistle on this super secret Black Ops unit that he was part of. They wipe out his family. Where it's now you're taking a character whose motivation was, it could have been anyone. For those who don't know, Frank's original origin was he was a Vietnam vet. By the way, I always support the idea of you have to use a sliding timeline, so making him Afghanistan vet makes sense. But he was a Spec Ops vet who was done with his tour of duty. He was living at home as a civilian and took his wife and kids out to Central Park for a nice picnic one afternoon, and they accidentally witnessed a mob shooting or a mob hit. The mobster saw them and just let loose on him and his family. He happened to live. This could have been anyone having that picnic. It happened to be Frank Castle, badass extraordinaire. And to me, making it about his past actions and about the people he used to associate with and all that, I think we're robbing this idea of anyone can become a hero. Again, we can debate Punisher hero, all that.
Yeah.
But, it's one of these, that's why I like Daredevil. Anyone could have pushed that blind guy, or could push the blind guy out of the crosswalk, got hit by the chemicals, and possibly got in the radar sense. It happened to be young Matt Murdock.
Okay.
This is why, this is this show aside from some parts where I will say, like, I had issues, I think they could have trimmed the fat. A lot of the stuff with Micro's family, I think, could have gone. But, and I feel like the whole will they, won't they, yes, it worked organically, more or less, but I feel like the whole him and Micro's wife kind of flirting thing was mostly to get Walking Dead fans to go, ha, Shane's going to sleep with his new best friend's wife.
That never occurred to me.
Oh, seriously? I was sitting there going, oh my fucking God, thanks, Shane. Then again, Tropical Donut is a huge Walking Dead fan, so.
Okay.
But like, you know, like, yeah, there's some parts where I think this could have been a lot more concise of a story, but this is a very good, very serviceable government conspiracy, Jason Bourne style series. Just like Thomas Jane Punisher, I like it more or less. Like this one, I'm a little more blonde, but I feel like it just didn't feel like a Punisher series. It felt like a dude fighting the government with guns.
I mean, it does say something where the only time he wears his skull is when they come to get him, and when he goes to fight Rousseau. In the beginning, when he's whacking all those guys.
Yeah.
All the time in between, he's not.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's like you said, it's a guy against the guns, and he spent the whole Daredevil season 2 basically saying, "Yeah, I'm the Punisher," taking on that news media name.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, he gets the skull. But
yeah, like I really liked the way he worked in Daredevil season 2. In fact, I had no problems with him in that. All of my problems with Daredevil season 2 come down to Elektra and the way the hand was used. Yeah. Which is why at first I was really excited for this. But again, like I feel like there was a lot. I also feel like they were trying to say a lot. And for me, it felt like they were just trying and missed. I know to you guys, they landed the mark, which fine, different perception and all that.
I think they managed to talk about it without saying.
I feel the whole thing with Louis with Lewis, the kid who turned into the Unabomber, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like that whole thing could have been cut out.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was unnecessary side story.
Sorry.
I don't know why specifically, but I feel like its ending was. I think its ending where he blows himself up is. I don't want to call it disappointing, but it's like. They didn't end up saying anything. That was maybe that was kind of the point, was that it was his whole thing was just in his mind and it was purposeless.
See, that's my whole problem, is that it never really accomplished anything in the series.
Well, I just think it was, again, another person who is very used to routine, but the motivations that drive them is what makes them different from Ladani and Frank. It's like he was fed all this bad stuff, so there was no when you push that into a machine that just runs, you're going to get bad stuff at the end.
Well, yeah, it was easy
so
for
there was no way to go
to warp them.
that. So
part of it for me, and again,
I think what I liked about that kid's character was that the system failed him, and that's what he became.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of potential to do a lot with that.
And that's I guess that's kind of why I'm disappointed with him blowing himself up. And I guess that's it, is that it's disappointment that this is how that had to end.
Right.
And I mean I maybe they could have ended it better, but the kid's story ended when Anvil turned him down. Really.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I like that story. Actually, because he was done then. There was nobody else who could help him.
I think part of it may also be just this may have come out at the wrong time for me, because I've just been kind of fatigued on all of this gray and brown, gritty, shooter-esque. Like it's kind of like how after you play so many Call of Duty games, you're saying they're like, oh my god, just give me fucking Borderlands. Give me that's the thing. So much stuff has been made grimdark and gritty lately that it no longer really has an effect on me.
See, I had the exact opposite feeling. Like after seeing essentially Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor, of Iron Fist,
Guardians of the
Galaxy,
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. Like,
and even Defenders.
Okay, name something that's not made by Marvel Studios.
Well, I'm saying what's pervasive now.
Right, but everything you named was straight up by Marvel Studios.
Right.
That's probably one of the big reasons why I like Marvel
Legends,
Studios so much
Legends
right
of
now.
Tomorrow, The Flash. They certainly don't have the same sort of feel as the
Yeah.
Punisher.
Yeah, but you still got Arrow, and I do still have to watch it. But I'm guessing tonally wise, John Wick 2 is not that far off from the first one.
No, it's not that far off.
Okay,
Yeah.
so John Wick 2, which I do want, I'm borrowing it from you, like, I do want to see this. It's just, you have Batman versus Superman. You have Man of Steel.
Yeah.
You have...
I'm just saying over the course of this year.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking... Yeah. But that's the thing. The fatigue isn't just this year.
Yeah.
The fatigue is a lot, and a lot of the comics I've been reading, too, have started to drag into this, which is why I abandoned a lot of stuff. And I've been specifically reading stuff like Josie and the Pussycats. Like, I did abandon Hellcat, but that was due to monetary reasons. But that was good. You know, Squirrel Girl. Like, I'm specifically going after this because a lot of the main stuff, even Kamala, even Ms. Marvel has had a lot of very serious, depressing, and dark storylines lately. And it's just like, we get it. Like, I don't know about you guys. I like read comics, play video games, watch movies and stuff to escape from how shitty the world is.
Right.
And now, granted, yes, the Punisher is a very real, quote-unquote, realistic character. You know, like, he's a very down-to-earth, which is why I'm saying that more or less this may have come out at a bad time for me.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like a lot of stuff, there's been so much emphasis on, we have to be all this, we have to be topical, or else people will say that we don't have any weight to us, or that it's like you can have weight without it being a misery show.
Right.
Sure. I just haven't been watching the same stuff you've been watching. So.
Yeah.
Frankly, I've been watching all the Marvel movies, and this was a complete tonal shift from the rest of this year's movies.
See, it's also like compare Star Trek Into Darkness to Star Trek Beyond. Like, there's a reason why I love one of those way more. Okay, now granted, Into Darkness everyone hates, for the most part.
and even then, like I started this the same weekend I went to watch Justice League, and it was again one of those things where it's like I'm watching something else that is exactly like the other things I've watched. And then here's the Punisher, who kills a guy from across the border with a 50 caliber gun and enjoys it. So it's like, you know, I'm like, okay, great, I'm ready for this right now, you know, because, you know, again, it was like, I've just seen so much of this, like, stuff that's from, you know, Deadpool and all this kind of stuff, where they just are so self-aware that they are this, you know, property that they are able to just, like,
the one
run
thing
with it.
The one thing I do, it was kind of bothersome to me, and I kind of also like, this is probably like the final thing I'm going to say, is that they keep calling Punisher a good man, and I'm just over here like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
And he knows it.
Yeah.
See, that's supposed to be the weird dichotomy of Frank Castle of how you look at him, because some people look at him as he is a good man doing a lot of good things.
Some of the stuff he's doing is good.
But a lot of people look at, here's the thing, because some people look at the world as a gray area.
Yeah.
Like, he's killing bad guys. If he ever started killing good guys, that would be a problem, but he's not, so therefore he is doing good work.
He's killing guys that are just like him.
See, the two that stand out in my mind were that he does good in this movie, in this series anyway. And you're talking about, you know, stuff that I remember. You just sparked
Soldier at the base.
No, I'm talking about the guy who just makes a bad choice to try to get meds for his mom, and the guys in his crew turn on him, and he saves his ass essentially, but then says "get the fuck out of town" kind of thing. And
I don't think that was a get out of town or I shoot you.
Yeah.
I think that was a get out of town because you pissed off the mom.
Yeah, the mom, essentially. Like, this is how you're going to stay alive.
Yeah.
And again, at the end, where he decides to just take whatever's coming and sit with Madani and make sure that she's okay. I think those are the only 2 points that stand out in my mind where he might have been a good guy.
Well,
The only one that really stands out for me is when he doesn't kill the U.S. when they're in the
Yeah,
tunnel.
That's right. That's right. That is
yeah,
one.
with that. Well,
Yeah.
but
But again, that could be argued even that it's just like it was impractical for him at the time to do that.
No, he didn't want to. That
was straight up. He did not want.
He
to.
did not want to.
All right.
He says
I'll have
it
to watch
before
it again.
he says it before he goes on the mission. He's like, I don't want to kill him.
And
Yeah.
even like that's why he gives the kid a chance, like because
Like,
it was a young
stop,
soldier.
stop.
He's like, don't do it. I'm gonna walk that way. Do what you need to, but don't.
Right.
You know. But that's the thing. There's the people who see it as this gray area, see the world as a gray area of he's doing everything he can to only hurt bad people. Mm-hmm. And then there are people who see it as black and white of murder is fucking illegal and reprehensible. Like, no, you fucking killed people. Mm-hmm. And this look no further than the Civil War comics, which you need to read at some point.
Yeah, I still have them.
Yes, you still have my fucking trade.
Well,
there is a great Frank Castle moment in there where Frank first off covers the anti-registration team's tracks throughout the whole thing, like without even telling them. He's like, "You guys are sloppy. I made sure that the government couldn't find you," but eventually they let him in, and there's a part where two supervillains come in to basically have talks with the anti-registration people, being like, hey, yeah, this legislation is bad for you. It's even worse for us. Let's work together. And Frank just stands up and blows them away. Pulls out an Uzi and blows them the fuck away. And Cap starts beating the hell out of him. Like, Cap picks him up and beats the shit out of it, and Frank does not lift a finger. And, and even after he gets beaten unconscious, there's Cap's hitting him and screaming, why won't you fight back? Why won't you fight back? And right before he goes unconscious, Frank goes, never against you. And that's the thing. It's Frank wants to do good. He even says to Cap, during this whole thing, they were bad guys, Cap. They were bad guys. Mm-hmm. And Frank wants to be a good guy, but I feel like, have you guys seen Serenity?
Oh, I haven't, no. Well, I've seen bits.
Well,
okay.
I mean, Frank wants to be a good guy, but he's also kind of a bad guy.
And he knows it. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
He calls
is
himself
wrong.
a monster.
Well, that's the thing.
So, because he kind of is.
There's this great moment in the movie Serenity where the assassin that's coming after the Firefly crew is on the phone with Nathan Fillion, on the video phone, and he's talking about how he wants to rid the world of sin, rid the universe of sin and all that. And Mal makes a comment about like, oh yeah, we're all gonna sit. You're all gonna sit there and sing "Kumbaya" in this new world. And the assassin goes, Captain Reynolds, you don't understand. There's no place for me in this new world. I'm a monster, but I do what needs to be done to make this world. I'm making it for others.
Yeah,
that's how I feel Frank is.
Yeah,
he
that's
knows
pretty spot on.
He will damn himself to make sure that others don't have to.
Yeah. But that being said, the final moments of the series are the perfect indication that he's a monster. Instead of killing Russo, he leaves him scarred with the worst thing for Russo that Russo can imagine. That he's lost his.
Wait, sorry. Did you say that he is or isn't a monster for doing this?
That he is a monster.
Is, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
he decides to let him live, even though it's like the worst fucking thing that he could do to him.
Yeah. That's a fate worse than that.
Straight up. And, and that was all personal. That was all him. He could have killed him. Mm-hmm. The guy wanted him to be killed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like Frank knows what he's doing is bad, but it's a greater good type of thing.
Sometimes, for the most part.
Well,
except for like very personal instances like that.
Well, yeah, but
because killing him would have saved him a lot of trouble in the next.
That's also why
season.
like some of these personal where they make it complete. See, what should make it personal for him was, to me, is the fact that his family was killed, not the fact that it reflects on his own actions. That you were my brother. Why did you betray me? To me, that's why it's for the most part, Frank only wants to kill bad guys. He'll damn himself to save others.
Yeah, that's pretty generally true of the series too. So.
Which I mean, again, is
but then again, his whole backstory in this series is that he didn't kill bad guys. Is that he killed a cop in Afghanistan who was trying to do good.
Yeah.
And he just pulled the trigger. And so that's what makes him call himself a monster right there.
Yeah. Again, well, I have some issues with that too, and yeah.
But that makes him a flawed
It
character.
works in the series.
So it's like it's his failures that drive him to do better.
Like-
that's great.
I like this version of Frank more than Frankencastle. Does that work? Is that?
Well, that was batshit crazy.
Frank. I don't think Mr. E knows Frankencastle. No. I'm gonna pull up a picture of Frankencastle. We're gonna get his. We're gonna get Mr. E's.
Hey, it's Batman on the TV.
There you go. That is Frankencastle.
Nice.
Frank was killed and brought back by the Legion of Monsters.
Wow.
Yep, Frankencastle.
That's some impressive stuff.
It was pretty fucking awful. I mean, Yep. There's Frankencastle fighting Dakin, aka Dark Wolverine.
Next Netflix series confirmed?
What is it?
Frankencastle.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. I thought you were being serious there.
No. I don't know. I still want my fucking Moon Knight one.
That'd be cool.
See, that's Moon Knight. That's where I want the crazy ass fever dreams.
Okay.
I want to peek inside Mark Spector's head and get like the crazy ass fucking fever dreams we get in the comics.
All right.
Well,
I think we're settled.
yeah, I think we're settled.
Yeah, about when Mark Spector comes up, that's usually about the ending conversation. Come on, Mark Spector, Blade, Ghost Rider, and the Punisher.
All right.
That should be our new team up.
Well, maybe that if this stuff doesn't run out of steam, maybe they'll head there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess that'll do it with this episode of the Geek Yoga podcast. The podcast.
We've been having some issues today.
Shout out to Nerd Podcast Mafia and
Potter and Family.
Potter and Family. Thank you for reminding me. Like, again, I'm not good at this shit, so I don't know why I'm doing it.
All right, and I got another random ass webcomic plug just because I was rereading it and I want to boost webcomics I like. Manly Guys Doing Manly Things. If the website is thepunchlineismachismo.com. That's all one word. Thepunchlineismachismo.com. Or just Google Manly Guys like I do to get to the website.
You Google Manly Guys?
I will hurt you. Manly Guys webcomic.
There you go.
Mr. E. You fucker.
Clarity.
But Kelly Turnbull, a.k.a. I'm going to butcher this, Koala Squid, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's Kelly Turnbull. That's her real name. She's a great artist, has a great sense of humor. And the webcomic's about a temp agency for manly guys such as Kratos and Solid Snake and Wolverine, who they need to get work after their games and stuff. It's run by Commander Badass, who is from the nondescript, who is a genetically engineered soldier from the nondescript space future. And the other staff member is Jared, who is he's the intern from the Kanto region, along with his Gyarados, Mr. Fish. Both of them are pretty fucking bad at being a Pokemon trader and a Pokemon. So, yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's very funny.
This is all you and Mystery. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Don't include me in this.
You're a Pokemon guy. Don't try to hide it.
I am.
Well, no, and here's the thing. If you're not into Pokemon, don't worry. It's not a Pokemon-oriented. You have to deal with a Gyarados running around and a couple Pokemon jokes every now and then. But most of it is centered around the idea of, like, how do you get a job for a guy like Marv from Sin City? How do you just deal with Kratos and King Leonidas being in the same room? And, come on. Duke Nukem really is just a giant fucking geek. Let's be honest here. No, it's a lot of fun. Thepunchlineismachismo.com. Check it out.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Geek Yoga podcast. I'm RahRah.
Wave.
And Mystery.
And good night.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun!